Hey there, I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, your pet's ally. I hope that everyone is well and happy, and life is good. So we've got a couple of questions today. So let me pop over to the Facebook group and get that going. Um, we're I don't know why shipping is so hard, but it is. So I do want to tell you this before I forget. I think that we were trying to send some holistic total body support over to Amazon because we sell some there. And I think that our shipping company actually sent all of it. So we are currently out of stock on everything everywhere. And for this, I deeply apologize. Paul has been working on sending out an email to let you all know about this. And as to apologize, we're offering a 25% discount for a pre-order. You can contact Paul here um, at this email address. And he is Hannah's husband, and he is handling most of the orders and kind of figuring out where things go. So um, that's kind of been frustrating, but it is what it is. So anyway, here's the questions that you're all here for. So Kay's asking about broccoli leaves. So yeah, if you've got a stock of broccoli, really those just go in as part of the broccoli, as May suggests. And if you have like a ton of leftover leaves or something from a garden, I would use them, but not a ton because they tend to be tougher, less nutritious, things like that. So you might use, instead of say 3 cups of broccoli leaves, maybe use a half a cup. So if you're harvesting from a garden and that's why you're asking, okay, that's what I would suggest doing. And then Shannon's asking about these. They do seem to help tremendously. Now, if you're, I can't remember where you are now, Shannon. I think you're in Virginia, but I may be wrong. If you have an existing flea explosion, so to speak, I would use something like, oh golly, what is the name of that stuff? Capstar, naiadipiatum, and that's a tablet that you would give that will kill all the fleas on the dog in about really quickly, like 4 to 6 hours, and it only lasts for about 24 hours. It's a great way to kind of get them knocked off. You may find that this takes another week or so to really kind of rev up. The way it works is by changing the electromagnetic vibration in the tag itself, and so that seems to be what actually repels the fleas and ticks. So you may or may not find these to be enough to keep everything under control. You may also have to use something like a Seresto collar to completely control the issues. So hopefully that's helpful to you, and you are well. And we want to welcome Patricia Smith today, and she does have a question about organ meats in the Crockpot diet. And it is okay to incorporate some, so no more than about 5 to 10%. And the heart, if you can find that, actually is you can use as a muscle because it is indeed a muscle. But you want to make sure and just use uh, for liver, especially because that's an organ of cleaning. We don't want to feed a ton of liver. And in fact, if you feed too much organ meat, then you can um, create an imbalanced recipe. So no more than 5 to 10% of things like liver, spleen, kidneys, tripe, things like that. And I did have a lady that had cats that had been feeding just chicken livers, and she ended up creating a really severe neurologic problem in her cat because there was not enough B vitamins in the diet. So I think that's all the questions here. And then on this little cheat sheet Hannah makes for me, um, Rachel is asking about um, what to do. And Rachel, thanks so much. Glad you reached out. Um, and appreciate all of your support. So, what can you use instead of red kidney beans? You can use any of the other beans. The recipe calls for red kidney beans for two reasons. One is that they are blood tonics in the sense of Chinese medicine, and they also tonify the kidneys because they're shaped like kidneys. So, hopefully, that makes some sense. But you can use any of them, and rotating the beans out is a good idea. And then the calcium citrate, if you are using the Now product, um, and let's see, 600 divided by 1.5 is 400. All right, so 2,000 milligrams divided by 400, which is the milligrams of calcium per teaspoon in the Now product, means 5 teaspoons. And again, if that's not the product you're using, it just depends on how many milligrams per teaspoon is in it. But if you're asking about a serving size of 1.5 teaspoons, that's probably correct. So for 2,000 milligrams, that's 5 teaspoons. Holistic total body support. I would really suggest adding it per meal. I know it's one extra step, but the thing is that the vitamins, especially the B vitamins, are going to degrade if it's in a batch of food. If you are, because the thing is that it's not so much per cup, it's per body weight of the dog. Um, you can theoretically say, okay, a 10-pound dog should be eating somewhere around 250 calories a day, and so that would be roughly 1 cup. And so then, yeah, so no, that I don't know, that math isn't quite working out. But I would really, if you're feeding 4 dogs, you're probably going through a batch in a hurry. But I would strongly suggest. Um, I would strongly suggest not adding it per cup. That's I don't know how much the dogs weigh, but if you've got as I said, a 10-pound dog that's eating a cup of food a day, that's 1/4 teaspoon. But if you have a 25-pound dog that's overweight that's eating that same cup of food per day, then that's going to be something on the order of a 1/2 teaspoon per cup. So see what I mean? It's a little difficult to kind of figure this out. And slightly like doubling up the amount of holistic total body support is okay, um, as far as um, you're not going to overdose, but I don't think you want to do this on a routine basis. And then Rachel's also asking about her parrots, and while parrots will eat meat, it's not really in a normal part of their diet. They're kind of like everybody else. They will eat kind of whatever's in front of them. As this article says, we all know that kid that ate paste in kindergarten, but it's going to imbalance the diet. So the vegetable portion would probably be fine, but their digestion is more set up for seeds and nuts and things like that. So not a great idea. You can offer a little bit, but I would not make this a main part of their diet. And then same thing with holistic total body support. It is glandular based. And the other thing is too is honestly, I have no idea about the nutritional requirements for parrots, and I have a feeling that the way that um, the supplement is set up, there will be excessive amounts of some nutrients and deficient amounts of others. So I think that would not be a great plan, Rachel. Hopefully that makes sense. And then lastly, um, let's see, we talked about that from Karen. Um, so she sent this email over about trying to figure out how to save time. And I get it. I think what you're outlining here to poach the meat, just spoon it all together and then feed the veggies raw. This is going to create problems because with this volume of vegetables, dogs do not have cellulase, which is the enzyme that we use to break down the cell wall. And so my suggestion would be really to cook it all together. Um, so the problem with the veggies is that not only is it going to be difficult for them to absorb the nutrients, the other thing is that the anti-nutrients, the phytates that are present in the brassicas and things of that nature, are not broken down without cooking. And that's also part of what the calcium citrate does too. So I think that will create some major GI issues. And if the crock pot or the roaster oven is taking so long, a lot of what the rest of us are doing are using either stock pots on the stove, or a lot of folks are using Instapots, things of that nature. So, that way you can get away with getting it done much more quickly. Um, if you've run out of food and you really got to cook something up, then I would suggest, sauteing it. I really think that cooking meat a little bit longer works better for these guys. This whole discussion about raw and lightly cooked and all of that is centered around the assumption that raw food is the ancestral diet. But I think there's a lot of evidence that says cooked food is is really what Canis familiaris evolved eating, because they were eating what we were eating, and then our garbage first, and then our leftovers and things like that. Um, and yes, and then the volume of food that's produced is somewhere between 12 and 16 cups. And the 12 cups is without grain or starch added to it. And the 14 to 16 cups is based on the a grain or starch added to it. So, really, that's going to be pretty close as far as the amount of protein. Um, and then, what I would do is just, if you're short a meal, just add some protein or some leftovers that you've got, and it's okay to do that. We've had to, when we travel, we've had to use a can of tuna, and we split that between Pepe and Hayo, and then we'll add some leftover veggies and things of that nature. So I hope that helps. Um, there is a lot of um, shenanigans going on with as far as what's good and what's not good. But as far as time goes, I would definitely cook everything thoroughly, because that's going to actually give your pet the best opportunity to absorb all the nutrients. But if you're really concerned about time, look into um, look into the Instapot, because I think from what folks are saying, and if you go back through the site and just hit this search bar here and type in Instapot, you can search the group, and there's several suggestions about how to use it, um, things of that nature. So there's a ton of, like Sabine had asked about this back in October, and there's a ton of information about how to do it. So check that out. If you forget food, in an hour, you could have hour and a half, you could have um, a completely done batch. So I hope that is making sense to you. Let me know if you have any additional questions about it, but I think you've got several folks in here that have been using um, Instapot or pressure cooker, any of those things. I mean, essentially that's what an Instapot is a glorified pressure cooker, although it is a lot more efficient, I will have to say that. So that's what I've got for you this week. Again, apologies about the holistic total body support, but unfortunately it is so incredibly frustrating, but I just don't have any recourse at this point. So we're trying to get it back in stock as quickly as possible, and Hopefully that'll be within 1 to 2 weeks, maybe sooner, but that's sort of the most conservative estimate. Until next week, you all take good care, stay safe, and remember your pet's best health starts in the bowl. Many thanks.